How's it going, everyone? This is Durified, and in today's video, we're talking about the beginner's guide to Territory Wars in Conqueror's Blade. Let's jump in. If, like me, you join Conqueror's Blade, you start to level up, you look at potentially joining a house, and then you get told that you want to do Territory War, or you're going to be involved in a Territory War, and you have no idea what that means. This is something that happened to me so many times, and I was trying to figure out how can I synthesize some of my experiences and some of the knowledge that I've learned as a beginner jumping into a game that has a lot more established houses and players to figure out how can I show you what Territory War is about, how to best get involved with Territory War, and key things that I wish I knew before jumping into my first Territory War that would have helped me up my house achieve victory. So the first thing that you'll notice here is that there are different sections broken down into different colors. Now, depending on who owns which territory and which sections of territory are owned by AI or by houses or neutral, you'll see different colors. If I hover over the green areas here, these territories are owned by our allies. This particular territory at this point in time is owned by our house, OFA. And I'll show some of the battle towards the end of this video if you really want to see how we captured this one, because it was such a good battle. Everything in the lighter blue are the people that we are friendly with. Anyone in red are houses that we are hostile with. And you'll notice that the map can get divided pretty quickly. The darker blue sections usually are the starter zones. So Haojing is where most people are starting on Dynasty Season 8. However, there have been other areas in which people have started before as well. So let's break down what a territory war actually does. You'll notice in the legend here that there are cities, towns, forts, villages, trade colonies, trade ports, fishing ports, trade posts, resources, camps, your camp, resource piles, and resource markets. The primary focus that when you're fighting over certain areas tend to be around the towns, forts, and villages for the most part. To help with getting a little bit of understanding as to what you do for territories and why you should capture them, we're going to look at our allied territory, Narth, who's currently owned by Tempest. Now, you'll notice that when you're clicking on the territory, there are base building abilities. Now, this will allow you to build a purple optimal cannon, as well as the well-made Hwacha, well-made ballista, Rattan Ranger kits, Imperial Spearguard kits, and Palace Guardman kits, which overall can be cheaper if you create kits as opposed to paying bronze straight out of your bank. The key one that a lot of people aim for are trying to get territories that have gold ability on the artillery. So you'll notice going through the individual towns, there'll be different base building abilities. So depending on what your house is after, you might find a certain town that you would prefer to own so that you can start crafting some more of those materials and those artillery and those kits. Just one sec. Make sure to hit that like button for the algorithm. If you're liking the Conqueror's Blade content so far, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment in the section below if you have something else that I may have missed in the territorial content. Let's jump back in. Now, when you are in a territory war, it can be quite chaotic. So listening to your war council and leadership members to understand what they're doing when they're doing it is crucial. Having the right units for territory wars is also very important. For a beginner, I wouldn't worry too much about the units as yet because you'll still be leveling up, unlocking units, unlocking their XP, going right down the right veterancy lines. And your house members should be able to guide you in which direction to do that for the purposes of territory war. For this video, we just want to break down the basics of what does all of this mean? What happens when all of this goes live for territory war? You'll notice that there are resource points. Now, depending on which territory you're in, you'll notice that there are different resource points available. For example, Hani has an influence at the top left here. We can see the house information, the alliance information, and then the fear for tributes. Then on Hani itself, you'll notice that there are a rough cotton field and the oak logging camp. Depending on who has ruling house or has majority influence, will determine who can actually declare war. So before territory war even starts, there usually is a half-an-hour period where resource sites become open to allow you to build and increase your house influence to attack the main territory. This means that people can attack the oak logging camp to gain 225, the rough cotton field to gain 120, to hopefully have ruling house over Hani as an attacker. There's an instance where there may be two houses attempting to attack one particular village or town at once, and they might be fighting over each other against these individual, as well as the defending house. And there are some instances where that's happened for us at Narth. And I'll try to show some of that video towards the end, so definitely check it out. In open world, there are also ways in which you can increase your influence by placing plots. There are field camps and ruling flags, which allow you to provide different levels of influence and resource ability to your house during territory war. So you can place them in certain locations, sometimes strategic locations, to be able to allow your house to take ruling, to allow your house to be the top influence to declare war, but also to resource and replenish heal units and buy artillery from. So let's look at how we can start a territory war. You'll see in the top right here that territory war actually begins in 2 days. And there's 2 different modes at the top right on the map. You'll notice when you press J and go into the battles menu, the territory wars tend to happen on the same day at the same time. Normally for us on this server, it's Tuesday nights and Saturday nights at around 9 p.m. Australian time. Depending on the server that you're in and the house that you're in, you may have to be involved in the server or online for your house to prep and plan for these territory wars. You can see when your territory war is by pressing O, going to the activities map and finding the weekly events. In here, it will block out a certain time as to when territory war is for your server. I'd strongly recommend talking to house members if you're in a house to understand when they start prepping and planning, starting to create their groups for their territory wars. For us, it's around 8 p.m. to 9:30 and 8 p.m. to 9:30. It works out to be, I think, 9 p.m. Australian time for me. When looking at your group, you can actually go to leave the individual town and see what your party already has. And this assists with understanding what your units will work in cohesion. You can set up your group to effectively work as a good 5-man, but then also look at your artillery and what everyone is bringing. When you're out in the open world, you can actually click on the bottom little icon and see everyone as well. So highly recommend clicking on that and checking out everyone in your group and what units and artillery they're bringing. Once territory wars are live, you'll see red everywhere. You'll have enemies, you have multiple different types of houses and alliances attacking you. You will be going to defend. There'll be a lot of chaos. Here we are clustered, waiting to get orders from our alliance and our council to understand what's happening. It's kind of difficult because there's so many different things, people attacking from different houses on different fiefs, on different resource points. And we're trying to understand where we're needed and when we're needed. So this is the recording of one of the battles that we won quite well. The OFA group had put together, we had just come back from another location. We had resourced at our local allied fief, and then we started making our way down to Hani. For beginner players, this may not seem like much, but do not start the battle unless the war council or your leadership does. You can see that we're going in straight away heavy and strong with almost 20 players up front. The first 15 are normally your key and core members. Once those 15 are in, if any of them die, there needs to be someone to replace them in the battle. Because once you're in territory war, you don't respawn. You have to go back to your closest friendly fief and resupply and heal your units. This means that we need multiple people, not just 15, outside mustering. Mustering means you'll actually be in queue to replace anyone that has died, which is key to kind of putting on an all-out brawl and battle and barrage of constant attack on the enemy. If you're asked to do pursues, that means you're on the outside group. You're not in the battle as such, but you're trying to intercept and pursue any of the enemy house members and make sure that they don't bring in their units, bring in their artillery. And you're trying to lock them down outside of the main territory, the main fief, and lock them down so they have to reset and resupply. Now, I didn't make it in the first wave. However, I was quickly mustered in. And you can see on the Z map, the overview of the map and the player's positioning. Usually you can only see line of sight on that map. At this point of the battle, we had pushed them back towards their final supply. And we were aiming to capture the final point with a barrage of artillery, cavalry charges, pike units, as well as pushing with everything we've got, mustering, dying, sacrificing to get the next players in, we finally drew down their numbers because we had a larger amount of players mustering in. Now, this isn't the only way and reason that we won. We positioned and planned to try and reach this point as quickly as possible, which I think threw them off, and they weren't understanding how quickly we got there, what we were doing, how we were pushing, and I think it fell in our favor. You'll now see the final push. We clustered everyone together and we pushed as a team. As we pushed down the stairs, we were fighting against everything. And this push, I'm going to let play out, and you can watch and listen to our group and our house's reaction to winning this battle.
Go left. Keep going now. Go. There's big gaps in their lines now. Push it in.
Units, assemble, form up, attack at will. Form attack. Units, assemble, form up, attack at will.
Let's get to water supply point now.
Got the supply.
Water supply point.
Push it now.
Go.
Into position.
Don't let them resupply. Don't let them resupply.
Don't let them get units. This is it. Good.
Don't let them resupply.
On the supply. Good. We've got cap happening.
Don't let them resupply.
Fucking spawn. Do not let them resupply. Cav is coming in.
Not today. Not today. Easy.
No mustering, 11 people.
Yeah, we're doing good. Jesus! We did it! Woo!
10 people.
Try to get some help, boys. There's 3 nearly dead up here.
Workers are in there.
Moving in with berserkers.
Good shit.
Nice.
Partying the fuck out of them here. Well done. Nice work.
Whoa!
Well done.
Oh. Nice.